Comprehensive cross-platform coverage of the U.S. market close starts right now.
About 2 minutes away from the end of the trading day, Katie Greifeld and Scarlet Fu counting it down to the closing bell. And here to help take us beyond the bell with the global simulcast, we're joined now by Carol Massar and Jess Menton, bringing together all of our audiences across radio, television, YouTube, you name it. And Carol, it looks like in the last couple of minutes of trading, we did get a spike in the S&P 500, but we also know it's the final trading day of the month.
You know why?
Tell me.
It's because the Cybertruck has rolled out, and we know how much it's going to cost, $61,000. That's the cheapest, and it's going to be available in 2025. Do you know Tesla's up about 20% this month?
Magnificent Seven, yeah.
But it's because of the Cybertruck, Katie.
Is it because of the Cybertruck? Yeah, I mean, of course, it is a moment for Tesla, and it's really been a moment for markets because beyond the Magnificent Seven, we know that, of course, Jess, this rally has really broadened out this past month.
Especially when you're looking at the S&P 500 heading into that final minute of trading ahead of the closing bell, but you look at it, it's up close to about 9% this month. So this is its second best November since 1980 if you go look at SEAG Go and the terminal, Scarlet.
Yeah, I'm looking at Tesla shares. They're still down 1.7% on the day. I know that we've been pretty obsessed with the Cybertruck for the last, 15, 20 minutes here, looking at the pictures. And
just 15 minutes?
I think, last 2 years. How about that? But we really got some concrete details.
It
the last
goes 0 to
minutes.
60 in 2.6 seconds. I'm really channeling Matt Miller right now.
There you go.
We could really use his expertise on this.
Yeah,
I'm
maybe
sure
we
there's a
can
lot
get
of
him
opinions.
to phone in. He might be busy, though. Let's take a look at these closing bells. Of course, the bell is ringing. People are clapping. You take a look at how equity markets finished up. It's green for the S&P 500. Had really accelerated into the close, up about 0.4%. The Nasdaq couldn't quite get there. Of course, it had been looking at losses of about 1%. We'll finish about 0.2% lower. Take a look at the Dow, outperforming up 1.5%, Carol. And if you take a look at the small caps as well, I believe they strung together some gains as well.
All right, good stuff. I'm going to go back to the big cap index, the S&P 500. Most names in the index actually higher for the Thursday trade as we wrapped up the month of November, Scarlet. 400 names to the upside, 98 to the downside, 5 unchanged.
And we see volume, a huge pickup from the 20-day average, up more than 30%. That's as there's an MSCI semi-annual index review rebalancing taking place today. Also end-of-month options expiring. And, of course, window dressing for some mutual funds because of the tech names are the decliners today.
All right, good to know. So let's get to some of the individual gainers, if I may. Salesforce. Wait, is that right? Weren't they higher today?
Yeah.
Wait, did I move it? Wait.
No, I see Salesforce
it is. It's
higher.
up 9.4%.
Yeah.
Sorry. Fat fingers for me on the terminal as I was pulling it up. Okay, so 9.4% higher. So pretty much holding on to the day's gains and finishing at session highs. Top of the S&P 500, the number one gainer, in fact. They gave a profit forecast. We all were breaking it down last night after the close. Their profit forecast for the current quarter, top analyst estimate. So it did show some strong momentum in its cost-cutting campaign. So big one and a big gainer there. Snowflake, another one, certainly in this kind of application software space, if you will, up about 7%. It's a cloud software company, reported third quarter results. It beat expectations and also gave an outlook that is seen as strong. So again, a 7% gain there. I want to mention Dollar Tree, home to Dollar Tree and Family Dollar. It was top in the NASDAQ 100 today. Third quarter comp sales, they were missed. They cut its annual comp sales forecast for Family Dollar, slightly lowered the division's net sales guidance. But I don't know. The company, reviewing its portfolio and identifying stores for possible closure. So maybe investors liked some of that in terms of what they heard. So that stock was up about 2% in today's session. And Immunogen, I got to mention, soaring some 82%. That's what happens when AbbVie agreed to buy the cancer drug maker for $31.26 a share in cash, equity value of more than $10 billion. And this is basically really cementing and helping to accelerate AbbVie's entry into ovarian cancer drugs, treatment specifically, but the cancer treatments overall, Jess.
Well, looking at at some of the decliners here, of course, going to start off with Tesla, as Scarlett was mentioning, down about 1.8% today. So that was its worst day since November 22nd. So not too long ago, but this is the 8th biggest weighting in the S&P 500. And as we mentioned earlier, it's showcasing its first Cybertrucks as part of that live streamed event in Austin. Another one I'm taking a look at today, though, is Ford. That's ticker symbol F. It's down about 3%. So worst day since November 9th. So that does come after the company actually did restore its financial guidance, though it did say profits would come in lower than earlier projections. A lot of that being due to rising labor costs. And of course, Meta, another company, 1.5% down, worst day since actually just yesterday. But looking at that, the U.S. Federal Trade Commission did claim that its in-house trial violated the Constitution and asked a court to immediately halt the agency's bid to change a 2020 privacy settlement. But if you look at a monthly basis, all three are up. And as Carol mentioned earlier, Tesla up about 20% month to date.
All right, let's get over to the bond market, my favorite place to be. And we actually saw that sell-off resume. We've been getting used to lower yields. Not the case today. Of course, we did get some mixed economic data. You can see that percolating through the curve right now. 2-year yields up 5 basis points, and more so if you go out the curve. I thought it was interesting, though, if you think about, we talked a little bit about what we heard from John Williams, but San Francisco Fed President Mary Daly, she also said today that interest rates are in a, quote, very good place to control inflation. She's not considering cuts. Of course, this is all a drumbeat until we hear from Jerome Powell himself speaking tomorrow. One of his last opportunities to speak before, of course, the December Fed meeting.
Yeah, I'm glad you bring up what Mary Daly said in the context of she's not considering rate cuts because so many in the market have looked ahead to rate cuts. I believe it was Chris Waller who, as Mike McKee was reminding us earlier, did talk about rate cuts generally without giving any kind of timeline, and that set people off to the races. Like, okay, it's happening, even though that was in the vaguest possible context.
Faster than a Cybertruck.
Yeah. I think this is a pretty interesting headline. Money market fund assets rise to a fresh record, $5.84 trillion. This is coming from the Investment Company Institute. You know, Jess and I just had on John Augustine, Chief Investment Officer at Huntington Private Bank. He talked specifically, though, about investors moving out of cash and looking to put that money to work. So less going in. So that's what he's seeing on a day-to-day basis. But again, some recent numbers from ICI just showing it's at a record.
And heading into tomorrow, Powell's actually on the calendar twice, speaking ahead of the blackout period next week. But something else that's an anniversary today, it's actually 2 years since Powell actually dropped transitory in front of Congress.
Okay.
It is. Today marks 2 years, so it was November 30th,
That's
2021.
so wow.
It's been, and if you look at the S&P 500, it almost looks like it's gone nowhere, but it's pretty much recouped all of the losses. But it's been so dizzying over the past 2 years when you think about where we've come and gone. But when you look at the S&P 500, the chart, back to those levels where it was 2 years ago.
Yeah, it has certainly been a long, strange trip. We do have some earnings, so I want to talk about Ulta Beauty here because Ulta right now, shares are up about 5.6%. You take a look at what we got. We saw third quarter EPS beating estimates coming in at $5.07. The estimate had been for $5. Still sees fiscal year operating margins between 14.6% to 14.8%. The estimate there had been for 14.7%. So you take a look at some of these numbers, and clearly the market sees good news here. We're going to continue to keep an eye on that.
All right, let's move over to Marvell Technology. It's a chip device company, and their third quarter numbers, on the bottom line, it is a beat by 1 penny, adjusted EPS of 41 cents, revenue coming in slightly better than expected, 1.42 billion. But the outlook for revenue for this quarter, the fourth quarter, 1.42 billion. Analysts were looking for 1.46 billion. And you can see those losses in after hours trading deepen, now down 1.3% in after hours trade.
Just want to get to Dell because last time that they reported their quarterly update, the stock rallied 21% to a new record high. It's a different tone. The stock is selling in the aftermarket. Third quarter total net revenue of $22.25 billion, a little bit light. Street was looking for $22.98 billion. Third quarter adjusted operating income, $1.96 billion. That is a beat. $1.78 billion was the Street estimate. Third quarter adjusted EPS, $1.88, and that is about 42 cents better than what the street was expecting, but the stock is down about 3.5%. Keep in mind, the stock is up almost 90% year to date. Looking last time around, it was kind of hopeful in terms of a recovery in the market for corporate technology, but we'll look for some insight on the call and in the press release to see maybe why there's so much negativity in the aftermarket here.
And
Could be
Bloomberg
just expectations.
Yeah. Also, Bloomberg Intelligence heading into this report was signaling kind of this cautious recovery that we have seen in the PC market. So they were expecting sales to slip about 7% compared to the 13% drop in the prior quarter.
So, Katie, do you have a Cybertruck in your?
Not yet. I mean, apparently you only have to
deliveries?
put $250 down to reserve. So I'm thinking about it, but
Get on the mailing list, essentially.
it's a little pricey.
Buy now,
The
pay
sticker
later.
there,
Is that what that
but
is?
There we go.
BNPL. That's a good point, Carol. I'll think about it.
All right, guys, that's a wrap. Our cross-platform coverage, wrapping up the month of November and getting ready for the last month of trading of 2023. Radio, TV, YouTube, Bloomberg Originals, we do it all across the Bloomberg world. We'll see you again tomorrow.